Ravens flock. The flock rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. So I'm telling you now, it's about to go down. The podcast, the flock rundown. Ravens, baby. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. So Jk Dobbins signs with the Chargers. There's some big name receivers that are being rumored to the Ravens in a trade before the draft. The draft's next week, by the way. Cannot wait for that. And the Ravens reported to the facility for workouts. There were some big names there. We're covering all that in this episode and some more. So let's dive into it. Jk Dobbins officially signs with the LA Chargers, the Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman-led Chargers, which is such an interesting scenario that JK and Gus are back with Greg Roman under a Harbaugh. So the Chargers are literally replicating what the Ravens did. And I think they'll have success. They'll win more games, at least. I should say that. I don't think they're a Super Bowl bound team, but they're going to win more games. They got a solid defense, bunch of big names over there. Derwin James, Bosa, Khalil Mack, and then on offense, you got a solid franchise quarterback in Herbert. Receiving core is okay. Joshua Palmer, Quentin Johnson, it's all right. But the run game is going to be great. A Greg Roman run game always succeeds, and Gus and JK are very familiar with that. It is interesting that JK goes to Greg Roman-led offense just because he was kind of complaining about that the last time that he was a starter really in the playoff game outside of the game that he got hurt. But we didn't use him enough, and he was complaining about that.
I should be the guy. I'm tired of holding that back. I'm tired of that. 12, it's the playoffs. I'm tired of holding that back. Let's go win the game. I'm tired of holding back on that. I'm tired of that.
Did you say that to anybody?
Yeah, I did. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it.
I guess there's not too much bad blood that he's back with Greg Roman, but wish JK the best. Definitely will miss him. I'm kind of sad. It sucks the way that JK kept getting hurt on the Ravens because when he was on the field, dude balled. I mean, he could have been one of the best running backs in the league. He still has that potential if he can just get back to his normal form. His normal form is elite, and we saw that in so many spurts. And when he was healthy, I feel like we just didn't use him enough. And then obviously, the first game of last year, that happens. So it sucks. It sucks the way he went out, but wish him the best in LA. And I think that's a great spot for him. They're definitely going to run the ball. He definitely has an opportunity. I don't think they have some elite back over there. It's Gus Edwards and Jk Dobbins. So it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out under Harbaugh and Greg Roman, but wish you the best, JK. So let's move on to these wide receiver Raven connected trade rumors that are floating around. So for about a week now, the Brandon Aiyuk trade rumor is floating around. We know he's in a contract battle with the Niners. Came out online that the Ravens and Steelers are interested. The agent kind of debunked it, but they're in a contract battle. So truth's hard to find right now. The games that people play. It's probably a rumor, but let's explore the idea, see if it makes sense, see what direction would be smartest to go for Baltimore. And then also, a Courtland Sutton trade rumor has just started in the past few days saying that they tried to unload Sutton to the Ravens last year, and he's in a contract battle with the Broncos. So kind of similar situations, both rumored to come to Baltimore. Does it make sense? Should we pull the trigger on something like that? Can we pull the trigger on something like that? I don't think so. I'll just be honest, I don't think so. Let's start with the Brandon Aiyuk situation. He's obviously going to command a huge contract, right? Like that's what he's looking for. Probably $25+ million a year. The Ravens just don't have that in cap room. Now, can we create it and be ultra aggressive and kind of use a Philadelphia strategy of just piling on void years? We've been dabbling with the void years, but Philly goes all in with the void years. They're pushing everything down the road. I just don't think Baltimore's going to operate like that. I think actually they're going to go away from using as many void years as we are, because we're going to carry dead money from Odell and Zeitler. I don't think that's the ultimate strategy. I think you can sprinkle that in when you need a guy, but I don't think that that's a smart move to keep doing. So a $25+ million cap hit when we just signed Matabike and Lamar last year is going to be really, really tough. Is Brandon Aiyuk worth the money and worth trading for? Yes, I love his game. He obviously would be the best receiver probably in Baltimore. Zay Flowers might have something to say with that at some point, but Brandon Ayuk's proven. He's a vet. You know what you're getting. He's just entering his prime. He's still got a lot of career left. So I'd love the move as in a fan of being like, yo, our team's stacked. This is a great move. But financially, I don't see us pulling the trigger. I don't see us giving up top draft capital. I don't think he would command a first-round pick just because you'd have to sign him to a deal, so he'd probably get a second or maybe a third. But I don't see us pulling the trigger on that. And I think since this isn't coming from valid sources, that this is really just negotiation rumors that are floating around, and there's no real chance of this happening. I could be totally wrong, but news is flying left and right in all different directions on the internet when you're in a contract dispute, and the reality is somewhere way in the middle of all that. So I think that he probably wants to stay with the Niners. They're just battling out a contract number, and maybe he does end up somewhere else, but I just doubt that it's in Baltimore. Now we look at Courtland Sutton. He would be cheaper to acquire, probably a little bit cheaper pay. He's a little older and just not quite as dominant as Aiyuk has been production-wise. So I like Sutton. I think his game's great too. I think he'd be a great piece in Baltimore. But what's he looking for financially? Because this receiver contract money is absurd. And I feel like the Ravens are kind of playing against that by drafting a lot of young guys, keeping them through their rookie deals. We're not really paying that $20+ million for a wide receiver. We may in the future. We'll see what happens with Zay down the road when his contract's up. And we'll see what happens with Bateman. We'll talk about that in a second. But I don't see the Ravens paying up $20+ million a year to lock in a wide receiver from somewhere else and give up draft capital. Now, Courtland Sutton would be probably a 4th rounder or a 5th rounder. It's going to be way cheaper than Aiyuk. They're both rentals essentially until you sign them to a deal. So they're not going to command top first-round picks. They don't have a good contract. There is no contract. You know what I mean? You don't want to trade a top pick and then lose a guy. So it's like us trading for Roquan. We gave up a second. We had to then sign him or he would have hit free agency and possibly went somewhere else. So you got to give up something and then sign them right away. And these guys are going to command massive contracts. So I think these are just rumors. The fact that it came out that the Broncos tried to trade Sutton to the Ravens at last year and that they were in talks is interesting, but that could just be the Broncos trying to unload to what they see as a wide receiver needy team, you know, and they're, hey, you're interested in Sutton? And then EDC cranks the numbers and is like, nah, like, you know, it's not going to make sense. Potentially that's how that went down. So the fact that the information that the Broncos were trying to flip Sutton to the Ravens does not mean the Ravens are interested. It actually probably means that the Ravens weren't interested if that didn't happen, or the deal just didn't make sense. Not that they're not interested in him as a player. It's just that what they had to give up, what they're going to have to pay him, just doesn't make sense. So I think both of these trades are very unlikely. They're fun to think about. Our offense would obviously be more proven and stacked adding guys like this, and I'm not against that. You know, load up the talent. It's just risky, and I'm just saying I know the Ravens and how they want to operate financially and kind of always staying cap intelligent so that they can always stay competitive. I don't see them pulling the trigger on these trades. They're going to give Bateman a chance this year, and they may pick up his 5th-year option for $14 million. I think that value is not insane next year when you look at these other wide receivers contracts, but it really depends on the draft. Because if the Ravens draft a first-round receiver, let's say Adonai Mitchell's there at 30 or whoever they like, and they want to pull the trigger on that and keep another cheap receiver on the roster for another 4 or 5 years, then I think that they probably won't pick up Bateman's 5th-year option, because then you know that you have a future with Zay and whoever you draft. Let's just plug in Adonai Mitchell, for example. Zay and Adonai Mitchell would be the future after this year. This year would be Zay, Bateman, Adonai Mitchell. And then that would most likely mean Bateman probably moves on somewhere else in free agency if they don't pick up his option. I just think he would take that some type of way. The road hasn't been super smooth anyway in his time in Baltimore. But if they don't draft a receiver, it may make a lot of sense to pick up his option and just give Bateman another 2 years. It's not like he doesn't have talent. If he stays on the field, I really feel like they can figure out this production. They just weren't using him, not giving him the ball. He was open a lot. He runs incredible routes. He has great hands. He stayed healthy last year for the most part. Now that trend has to continue and his production's going to have to go up, but it's not like Bateman's a scrub. Like, watch the game. He's not a bum. He's got a ton of talent. He just needs opportunity. He needs to be involved in the offense. So we'll see how it plays out. But I think this draft is very telling about where the Ravens' future receiver room is going. A lot of Ravens key players reported for workouts early. It just shows how bought in they are. Lamar Jackson was there, Roquan, Zay Flowers, Derrick Henry. I love seeing the veterans, especially Roquan and Lamar. They are the clear leaders of this team. And to be there from the first possible day of workouts, voluntary workouts, is huge. I think that is very telling. They're locked in. They want to make sure that the rest of the guys that are showing up are locked in. And I think the offseason participation with this 2024-2025 Ravens group is going to be very high. I think this team is going to be very tight. And they're still going to add a bunch of players. We still got a lot of rookies that are going to come in. They're going to be in the building in a few weeks. And then you have the entire rest of the offseason to kind of bring in vets and possibly make a trade here and there. So there's going to be a lot more moves to build out this roster, but the core is there. And the fact that they're already showing up at voluntary workouts is a great sign. It's exciting to see. It's exciting to see Derrick Henry working out with Ravens gear on. That's sick, man. Sometimes I can't even believe that we got him yet. It's going to be so real seeing him in a Ravens uniform in the backfield with Lamar. I mean, it's something you dream about. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry speed power combo in the backfield is insane. So I cannot wait to see that. I can't wait for this season. Lamar looks skinny, man. He slimmed down. I know everyone was sharing the picture. He looks like he's locked in with what he's putting into his body, and I don't see why we're not going to get an even better year. I'm not sure they'll hand him the MVP again just because they don't like to do back-to-back years, but he might have a better year than he did last year, and I think that the Ravens have a real shot at going to the Super Bowl and getting that trophy that we've been after and been so close to getting. So excited for this season, excited to share it again with you guys. Appreciate you tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim there where the sense can't tame the untamed.